Hey, good morning, everybody. It is step 10 week on a Friday morning. How does daily accountability, keep me safe from my addictions? This step is my favorite step of all time because this step incorporates all of the other 12 steps on a daily basis. And so I definitely am stoked about doing this show this morning with you. I want to thank High Five Live for allowing this vehicle, this venue to happen where we could talk about addiction recovery. We could talk about um, the solution and how people can take these 12 steps and step towards Christ and come into his love and light and become free from the shackles of self-hatred, self-bondage, and addictive behaviors of all sorts. And so my name is Jason Coombs. I'm a person in long-term recovery. If you are joining us for the first time, and would love to hear where you're from. If you could chime in and say what's up. Good to see Scott, Corey, Pam, good morning. Shelley, Idaho, love it. I need to get over there, actually. Would like to also thank the guests that have been on thus far along the way, Alema, Brian, Taz. We look forward to having more guests in the future and hopefully ramping up the solution in and around addiction recovery and as it relates to mental health too. On a side note, really excited to be a part of the recovery movement in a lot of ways. My stake calling in the church is to head up a lot of different things related to this issue, but particularly in and around the Hope and Healing workshop, which is what our local stake is putting on tomorrow. And so we've got one of my best friends, Clay Olson with Fight the New Drug, is going to be joining me today. Actually, he should be here in a few hours. So Clay, if you're tuning in, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I've got close friends, Archie Swinson, and a variety of others who will be presenting tomorrow. And this is all related to the 12 steps, particularly step 10, and I will kind of describe why. But let's just dive in. Step 10, daily accountability. And how does this keep us safe from our addictions? By now, if we've walked through the first 9 steps, we have experienced a change of heart. And if we're at step 10 and we haven't experienced a change of heart, I think it's a really good idea to comb back through steps 1 through 9 and just see where we're at and take a spot check inventory on where might have we missed. Is our surrender complete? Have we completely admitted powerlessness to God and to ourselves, that we can't overcome this issue on self-will or willpower alone, that we need help, spiritual help, to transcend our shackles? And if we can say yes 100% to that question, then the next question is do we trust that God can help us with this? If I can't do this, is there a power that can and will, if I ask and if I do my part? And do I have the faith and that's sufficient to believe and trust that if I take these actions and if I pursue these 12 steps and if I am obedient to the spiritual nature of these steps and I do my best, then do I have the faith that and the hope that maybe, just maybe, I can have a change of heart and I can experience this transcending power that many of us, hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of us in recovery throughout the world, have experienced. And so if it can happen to a guy like me, it can absolutely happen to you. So that is very important to ask yourself those questions. Do you trust that God can help you with these addictions, or these mental health issues, or these life trials? And then if so, are we willing to go into that cave of our past and to really clean out those caverns and those deep, dark secrets that have collected mold and cobwebs, and need to have light shined in there and cleaned out? And if we're willing to go there and really walk through those confession steps, that personal inventory, fearless, thorough personal inventory, put it all out on paper, put it all out on the line, and then take that to either a sponsor or a bishop or another human being who can help us with our recovery process, and lay it all out there. Identify patterns that have blocked us off from the sunlight of the Spirit, and then desperately asking God to remove all of that stuff, to remove our character defects, to remove our weaknesses, to turn them into strengths, and do it humbly, recognizing our own mortal limitations, that we can't change ourselves, that we need God's help to change us from within. And right there, through all of that process, we've just walked through steps 1 through 7 on a daily basis. This is where a day at a time comes in. Like step 10, one day at a time, it's essentially saying, hey, each and every day, go through steps 1 through 9. And we didn't, when we talk about steps 8 and 9, that's simply just being to right our wrongs as we make them and promptly admit them. So step 10 is continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And I would say to make that right, not just admit it, but make that right. And this daily action, this daily practice of the 12 steps is what the essence of the 12 steps is not just one event or walking through the steps and then there's this finish line. It's the daily application of the atonement of Jesus Christ. This is where hearts change, is in this consistency and in the sincere desire to lean and trust on God to change our very nature, not just free us of our addiction, because addiction is a symptom of something deeper. Addiction is a soul sickness. So if you start to look at it that way, where it affects the mind, body, and the spirit, we need help on all of those levels. And sometimes we need to couple the steps with help from professionals and psychiatrists and med management and additional therapeutic supports, and treating addiction on the mind, body, and spirit level is where step 10 comes in, because it's a daily treatment. It's a daily put it into remission. It's just like stage 4 cancer. You don't just, go to the doctor one time and expect cancer to be cured. No, you treat it daily. You take your medications daily. You recover daily. And that is the process of recovery, is to walk through this each and every day. So step 10, in my opinion, and in my understanding, and in my experience, it is the willingness to wake up each morning and to walk through steps 1 through 9 and to live those principles that we've talked about each and every day. Or I should say that we've talked about it each and every show. So I would love to explore how I apply step 10 on a daily basis. There are various ways to do inventory on a continual basis. The idea, however you do it, whether it's just a spot check inventory on the fly throughout your day, whenever you feel disturbed or whenever you feel triggered or frustrated, to stop, pause, and to go inside and find like a little quiet place to do this, whether it's in your car or go to the restroom or go out into the park or something, and to ask yourself, why am I disturbed? What is it going on inside me that's causing this disturbance? And you can do a spot check inventory that way. What character defects flared up for you at the moment? Are you resentful? Are you being inconsiderate of others? Are you being selfish? Where are you feel fearful? And then quickly ask God to remove that and walk you through that process. If you're at the gym and you see someone and you begin to have immoral thoughts, it's about spot checking that and saying, okay, Lord, remove this from me. Please take away my immoral thinking, take away my lust, and free me of this. And plead with your higher power that that will happen. And over time, you will see that those thoughts become less and less and less and less, to the point where you are not obsessed about lust. You're not fantasizing about the opposite sex or the same sex. You're literally in a place where you're free from that obsession of the mind. This is what emotional sobriety, this is how emotional sobriety is achieved, is this daily application of the 12 steps. And then there are the more robust inventories that I like to actually use. I have notebooks. I've got probably 30 of these notebooks, thin little notebooks that I get online or at the bookstore. And inside here, these are my prayers. So I go through a couple of these a year, and I literally, I try to do it on a daily basis. I'm not perfect, so progress, not perfection. Remember that. And I start off my letters with an intro to God, and I go through my day and I identify what character defects and where my weaknesses are, what's flaring up for me, what are things I want to change, and I ask God to remove them, each and every one of them. I pour out my heart, my feelings. I also try to identify some assets and some strengths too, so that there's a nice balance of, because one of my character defects is self-condemnation and inadequacy. So the more I beat myself up, the worse it gets. So I also want to include some strengths in this process. And then I wrap up the prayer, and I do that on a consistent basis. So I log lots and lots and lots of prayers, and it's like writing slows me down enough to really think about what I'm praying about and what I'm trying to communicate with God. And it's been a beautiful process. And that's where my change has come, is through the living principle of step 10, is continuing this process and trying to clear out the wreckage and clear out what's blocking me off from the sunlight, so that I could be more connected on a daily basis. So hopefully this was helpful. Looking forward to step 11 next week. If you need any resources, you can go to the link that is in the description. And yeah, love you guys. And let's take this one day at a time. See ya.